the tide, that never turned away. Come. There is nowhere to be for a little while, nothing to accomplish, nothing to understand. The day has already carried enough. Let it rest now. Imagine yourself walking slowly along the edge of a quiet shore as evening begins to gather. The beach stretches far into the distance, untouched except for the delicate footprints of birds that have wandered here before you. Behind you, dunes rise softly, clothed in pale grasses that sway together whenever the sea breeze passes through them. Sea thrift clings to the sandy slopes, its small pink flowers glowing in the last warmth of the sun, while clusters of yellow-horned poppies nod gently beside weathered driftwood that has travelled farther than anyone could ever know. Ahead of you lies only the sea, endless, patient. Its waters have risen and fallen beneath the moon for longer than any story has been told, shaping coastlines, smoothing stone, carrying life from one shore to another across billions of years. Every wave that reaches your feet belongs to an ancient rhythm, older than memory, older than language itself. Listen, the sea asks nothing of you. It does not wonder whether today was productive. It does not weigh your mistakes against your successes. It has never measured a soul by what it achieved before sunset. It simply arrives, again and again. Each wave bows upon the shore before quietly returning to the great blue horizon, only to begin the journey once more. Perhaps there is something comforting in that. Nothing here strives to be anything other than itself. The tide does not apologize for retreating. The wind does not apologize for changing direction. The moon has never asked forgiveness for becoming full, then slender, then hidden from view before returning once again. Nature has never confused change with failure. The gulls glide upon unseen currents without questioning whether they deserve the open sky. The oyster-catcher calls across the shoreline because it has a song to sing, not because it hopes someone will applaud. The tiny sandpiper races joyfully before the incoming surf, dancing between water and sand with astonishing speed, only to dart away a heartbeat later. No one accuses it of uncertainty. It simply follows the rhythm written into its little heart. Perhaps you may allow yourself the same kindness. You continue walking. The sand beneath your feet is still faintly warm from the afternoon sun. Each step sinks just enough for the earth to acknowledge your presence, before gently supporting you once more. There is no resistance here, only welcome. How remarkable that the ground beneath you has been learning this quiet art for billions of years, long before cities, long before kingdoms, long before anyone spoke your name. The earth was already discovering how to cradle forests, rivers, mountains, and oceans with patient generosity. And today, it cradles you, without judgment, without condition, without asking you to become someone different before you are worthy of belonging. A breeze carries the scent of salt and seaweed across the shore. You notice the freshness of it, the clean mineral fragrance of the ocean, the sweetness of flowering grasses carried from the dunes. Somewhere behind you, hidden among the marram grass, a skylark rises into the evening air until its tiny body almost disappears against the vastness of the sky. Though you can scarcely see it now, its song continues, pouring effortlessly into the light. Not everything beautiful needs to be seen to be real. You pause for a moment. The waves continue their endless conversation with the shore. Foam curls around smooth pebbles before slipping quietly back towards the sea, drawing thousands of tiny stones together in a soft whisper that has echoed along coastlines for countless generations. Shh! Then another wave arrives. Shh! Again, again, again. Perhaps your own breathing begins to find the same gentle rhythm. There is no need to force it. The sea has been practicing this quiet lesson since the oceans first gathered beneath an ancient sky. Simply notice, breathing in as the wave approaches, breathing out as the water returns, nothing more. Above you, clouds drift lazily westward, their edges glowing with shades of ivory, pearl and pale gold. Far beyond them, unseen in the bright evening sky, the first stars are already waiting. They have not yet appeared, but they are there all the same. Many good things begin long before we can see them. As you wander farther along the beach, you notice shells scattered like tiny treasures left by the retreating tide. Each one is different, one polished smooth as ivory, another etched with delicate ridges, one broken, one whole. Yet every shell belongs equally to the sea. None are loved less because time has shaped them differently. Perhaps people are not so different. We each carry marks left by our journeys, some visible, others hidden so deeply that only we know they exist. Yet every life has been shaped by tides no one else has fully witnessed. You need not compare your shoreline with another's. The sea never does. It kisses every stretch of coast with equal devotion. Whether cliffs rise proudly above it, or quiet, beaches slope gently into its embrace. The waves return with the same faithful tenderness. The sun lowers slowly. Its golden light stretches across the water until the sea becomes a shimmering path of liquid fire reaching towards the horizon. For a little while, everything glows. The grasses become strands of bronze. The driftwood shines like polished honey. Even the smallest grains of sand sparkle with quiet brilliance before the light begins to soften. Beauty often arrives most gently just before evening. You find a smooth piece of driftwood resting beyond the reach of the tide. It seems the perfect place to sit. The wood has traveled far. Perhaps it once grew beside a distant river. Perhaps storms carried it here. Perhaps seasons of wind and water slowly transformed rough bark into smooth silver grain. Its story cannot be read by looking alone, nor can yours. You sit. The sea continues breathing before you, slowly, patiently, faithfully. There is nothing you need to fix in this moment, nothing you need to solve before the next wave arrives. Whatever has brought you here today may rest beside you for a while without demanding an answer. Sometimes the kindest thing we can offer ourselves is not certainty, but companionship. The evening grows quieter. A pair of swans passes low across the water, their white wings catching the last amber light before disappearing beyond a rocky headland. Somewhere farther out, a seal lifts its curious face above the waves for only a moment before slipping beneath the surface once again, leaving nothing behind except widening circles upon the sea. Life continues gently all around you, not hurried, not delayed, simply unfolding according to its own quiet wisdom. The sky deepens now from gold into rose, from rose into lavender, from lavender into the first rich shades of twilight blue. One star appears, then another and another, never competing, never rushing, each simply shining when darkness has made room for its light. Perhaps there is a lesson there too. You need not force yourself to become brighter overnight. You need not bloom before your own season arrives. Like the stars, there are parts of you that have always been there, even on days when clouds have hidden them from view. The sea knows this, the wind knows this, the patient earth beneath you knows this. They have witnessed countless sunsets, countless dawns, storms that seemed endless, calms that followed, winter tides, spring blossoms upon the cliffs, and through every season the world continued quietly becoming itself. There is nothing in nature that hurries its belonging, neither must you, so for a little while longer simply remain here, listening, breathing, held by the vastness of the sea, the steadiness of the earth, and the evening sky that stretches without end above you. There is nowhere else you need to be. The tide is coming in, and it has all the time in the world. For a little while longer you remain upon the driftwood, listening as the sea continues its ancient conversation with the shore. The waves never seem to grow tired of returning. Each one arrives with quiet purpose, laying itself gently upon the sand before slipping back into the great blue sea, making way for the next. Nothing is hurried, nothing is forced. There is only rhythm. The evening breeze carries the scent of salt across the water, mingling with the sweetness of sea thrift growing among the dunes. Somewhere behind you, a curlew calls across the coastline, its lonely song rising and falling upon the wind. The marram grass sways in graceful waves of its own, whispering softly together as though sharing stories that have been carried on the breeze for centuries. You breathe, the sea breathes. The whole shoreline seems to breathe with you. As your gaze wanders across the damp sand, you notice something you had not seen before. A second set of footprints, smaller than your own. They are pressed lightly into the sand where the tide has not yet reached, wandering here and there without any clear destination. You smile. They stop beside a shell. They wander towards the water. Then they turn again, as though distracted by some tiny wonder only a child would notice. How beautiful it is that children so rarely hurry. They don't measure a walk by how quickly it ends. Instead, they discover 1,000 small miracles along the way. A feather resting upon the sand, a tiny crab disappearing beneath a rock, the delicate spiral of a shell, a cloud drifting across the evening sky. Wonder has never demanded urgency. It simply asks us to notice. You rise slowly from the driftwood and begin to follow the little footprints, not because you are searching for anything, but because your heart feels quietly drawn to see where they lead. The sand beneath your feet is cool now. Each step leaves its own gentle impression before the next wave smooths the shoreline once again. There is something comforting in watching the sea erase the marks left behind, not because they did not matter, but because the ocean never asks the shore to carry every footprint forever. Some things may simply be honored, and then gently released. The sky begins to soften as the sun sinks lower towards the horizon. Gold melts into amber. Amber deepens into rose. Rose slowly becomes lavender. The sea receives every changing color without trying to hold on to any one of them. It welcomes each moment exactly as it arrives. Perhaps there is quiet wisdom in that. Perhaps we too are allowed to change, allowed to grow, allowed to become someone new while still honoring everyone we have ever been. The little footprints continue ahead of you, winding gently along the water's edge. You follow them with quiet curiosity, listening to the steady rhythm of the waves beside you. There is no destination waiting, only another step, another breath, another gentle wave arriving upon the shore. And somehow, that feels entirely enough. Together, you continue your gentle walk along the shoreline. The evening has become quieter now. The sun hangs lower above the sea, its golden light stretching across the water until it seems to form a pathway towards the distant horizon. The waves continue their ancient rhythm beside you, arriving, retreating, returning, again, again, again. The child walks without hurry, occasionally looking down whenever something catches their eye. A smooth shell, a feather dancing upon the breeze, a tiny ribbon of seaweed left behind by the tide. Each small discovery is greeted with the same quiet curiosity, as though the whole shoreline has become a place of endless wonder. You find yourself slowing too. There is something peaceful about allowing the world to unfold at its own pace. The sea has never hurried a single wave. The moon has never rushed the rising tide. The wild grasses upon the dunes bend gently whenever the wind asks them to, and stand tall again when the breeze has passed. Nothing in nature seems anxious to become tomorrow before today has been fully lived. The beach begins to change beneath your feet. The soft sand gives way to a wide sweep of smooth pebbles, each one polished by tides that have traveled these shores for countless generations. The child kneels amongst them. For a little while they simply look, not searching for the largest stone, not searching for the most unusual, only noticing. Eventually they choose one that feels just right. It is broad and smooth, warm from the afternoon sunshine. They place it carefully upon the sand. Then another, then another. Slowly a tiny cairn begins to grow. You settle quietly beside them. There is no need to offer instructions, no need to suggest a better way. Sometimes the kindest thing we can give another person is the freedom to discover their own rhythm. The child turns each stone thoughtfully before placing it down. Some fit together easily, others wobble a little before finding their balance. Each choice is made with patient attention. The sea continues breathing nearby. Its steady rhythm seems to fill every pause with quiet reassurance. You notice how completely absorbed the child has become. There is no thought of finishing, no concern about whether the little tower will be impressive. Only this one stone, then the next, then another. How gently children remind us that life is lived one moment at a time. Another pebble is placed upon the little tower. It leans slightly. The child pauses, adjusts it carefully. For one hopeful moment, everything appears perfectly balanced. Then, with the gentlest whisper of wind, the upper stones slip, one touches another. They tumble softly back onto the beach, scattering amongst the pebbles with a series of delicate clicks before coming quietly to rest. The child watches them for a moment. Then a smile slowly spreads across their face. A light laugh escapes into the evening air. Not because the tower remained standing, but because building it was joyful in itself. You smile too. The sea keeps breathing. The gulls continue gliding above the shoreline. The grasses dance upon the dunes. Nothing in the natural world seems disappointed that the stones have fallen. Everything simply waits, ready for another beginning. The child reaches for another stone. For a little while they simply hold it in their hands, turning it slowly, feeling its smoothness with curious fingertips. Then they smile. This time they choose a broader stone for the foundation. They place it gently upon the sand. Another follows, then another. There is no hurry, no wish to finish quickly, only quiet attention given to one small moment at a time. You watch as each stone settles naturally into place. Some fit together immediately, others need to be turned ever so slightly before finding their balance. Nothing is forced, nothing is rushed. The sea continues its endless breathing beside you. Wave after wave arrives upon the shore. Wave after wave returns to the open water, patiently, faithfully, as though reminding the whole world that there is wisdom in moving gently. The little cairn begins to rise once more, not tall, not grand, simply enough. At last the child places one final stone upon the top. Both of you remain very still. The breeze passes softly over the beach. The grasses bow upon the dunes. A gull glides silently across the evening sky. The little tower remains standing. The child smiles, not because it is perfect, not because it will last forever, simply because this moment has become exactly what it is. You sit down together beside the little cairn. The stones are still warm from the afternoon sunshine. Before you stretches the wide sea, glowing softly beneath the lowering sun. Far beyond the shoreline, the horizon seems to melt into the sky until it becomes impossible to tell where one ends and the other begins. For a long while, neither of you speaks. The silence feels gentle, the kind of silence that asks nothing from you. The tide is still some distance away. Soon enough it will reach this place. Perhaps the little cairn will still be standing when the moon rises. Perhaps tonight's tide will quietly return every stone to the beach. Neither possibility feels disappointing. The beauty of this little tower has never depended upon how long it remains. It was beautiful while it was being built, beautiful when it fell, beautiful as it was built again, and beautiful now, standing quietly beneath the wide evening sky. The child brushes a little sand from their hands and leans gently against your shoulder. Together you watch the waves rolling steadily towards the shore, one after another, always arriving, always returning. The sea has never hurried a single tide. It has never asked the shoreline to remain unchanged. It simply meets each new moment with quiet faithfulness. Perhaps there is something deeply peaceful in remembering that not everything precious is meant to be permanent. Some things come into our lives simply to remind us how beautiful a single moment can be. You breathe in the cool salt air. The child breathes beside you. The sea breathes with you both. For a little while longer, you remain beside the little cairn, allowing the quiet beauty of the evening to settle gently around you. There is nowhere else you need to be, only here, beside the sea, beside the child, listening to the tide that has been returning to these shores for billions of years, and as the sunlight softens a little more, the child slowly rises to their feet. With one last smile towards the little cairn, you both turn and continue your gentle walk along the shoreline, where new treasures are already waiting to be discovered. You continue your gentle walk along the shoreline, the little treasures tucked safely away, the shell, the sea glass, the feather, simple gifts from the evening. The tide keeps its quiet company beside you, rising and falling with the same ancient rhythm it has followed for billions of years. Long before people walked these shores, long before the first stories were told around fires, the sea was already breathing beneath the moon, shaping stone with patience and carrying life upon its endless currents. Even now it asks nothing of the shore except permission to return, again and again and again. Far out upon the calm water, something catches your eye. Two smooth, dark shapes rise gently above the surface. Two seals. For a few peaceful moments they simply float, their curious faces turned towards the shore, as though quietly observing the evening alongside you. The child notices them too. A smile brightens their face. Without thinking, they lift a hand and wave. You find yourself doing the same. Perhaps the seals see you, perhaps they do not. It scarcely matters. There is something joyful about greeting another living creature, even if only for a moment. After a little while, the seals disappear beneath the water as quietly as they arrived. Only widening circles remain upon the sea, shimmering briefly before becoming part of the waves once more. The ocean offers no explanation, it simply keeps breathing. There are some mysteries that ask to be solved, others ask only to be admired. The evening breeze becomes a little cooler now, carrying with it the scent of salt, warm sand, and the sweet fragrance of sea thrift growing amongst the dunes. The long, marram grasses bow together in graceful waves, their golden stems catching the last light, before slowly returning upright once more. Beyond them, a blackbird offers one final evening song. Then the coast grows wonderfully still. You realize that neither you nor the child has spoken for quite some time. The silence has become its own kind of conversation. Not empty, not lonely, simply shared. There are silences that ask to be filled, and there are silences that gently remind us that we are already understood. This is one of those silences. The child slips their hand into yours. The gesture is unhurried, natural, trusting. You close your fingers gently around their hand, neither holding too tightly nor too loosely, simply letting them know that for this little while you are walking together. The waves continue to smooth the shoreline. One by one they gather around shells and pebbles before quietly returning to the sea. The beach never asks them to stay. The sea never forgets to return. Watching them, you find yourself wondering whether kindness might be something rather like the tide. Not one great moment, not one perfect day, but countless quiet returns, meeting yourself with patience. Again, meeting yourself with understanding. Again, meeting yourself with gentleness. Again, just as faithfully as the sea has returned to these shores through every season for billions of years. The sky begins to change once more. The rich gold of evening softens into shades of amber. Amber melts into rose. Rose deepens into lavender. And slowly, almost unnoticed, the first hints of twilight blue begin to spread across the heavens. The child stops walking and looks upwards. You follow their gaze. The sky seems impossibly wide. The first stars have not yet appeared. Yet you know they are already there beyond the fading light, waiting with quiet patience for evening to welcome them. Many beautiful things exist long before we are able to see them. The child smiles without saying a word. You smile too. Together you stand for a little while longer, listening to the sea, feeling the breeze upon your face, breathing the cool evening air that carries the freshness of the ocean and the promise of night. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing more you need to become, only this quiet shoreline, this gentle evening, this faithful sea, the shell, the sea glass, the feather, a child's trusting hand resting peacefully in your own, the tide breathing beside you, the earth beneath your feet, the wide sky stretching endlessly above, and somewhere, just beyond the soft blue of the evening, the first stars are waiting. Together, you continue your slow walk along the water's edge, following the quiet music of the waves as the shoreline gently welcomes the coming night. The evening grows quieter still. The warmth of the day lingers softly in the sand beneath your feet, yet the air has begun to cool, carrying the clean scent of salt and the freshness that arrives only as daylight gently gives way to night. You and the child continue your unhurried walk beside the sea. The waves still rise and fall with their familiar rhythm, though their voices seem softer now, as though even the ocean is settling into the stillness of the coming night. Above the western horizon, the last golden light slowly melts into amber. Amber fades into rose. Rose gives way to lavender. Then, almost without noticing the moment it happens, the sky deepens into a rich and peaceful blue. It is a color that cannot be hurried. It arrives as quietly as the turning of a page. The child stops walking. Without speaking, they lift their eyes towards the heavens. You follow their gaze. For a little while, there is only sky, wide, open, endless. Clouds, touched with the last traces of sunlight, drift lazily towards the horizon, their edges glowing softly before the light slowly slips away. Then, the child points. High above the sea, a tiny light appears, one single star, bright enough to be noticed, gentle enough to invite rather than demand your attention. You both stand quietly, watching. It is remarkable how one small light can seem to change the whole sky. A moment ago, evening felt like the ending of the day. Now it feels like the beginning of something entirely different. Before long, another star begins to shine, then another, each one appearing in its own time. None arriving early, none arriving late. No star hurries another. No star competes for the sky. Each simply becomes visible when the light around it is ready. There is a quiet wisdom in that. The stars have been there all along, even while the sun filled the heavens with light, even while the clouds drifted overhead, even while the waves rolled steadily onto the shore. They did not suddenly come into being. They were simply waiting for the evening to reveal them. Perhaps there are quiet strengths within us that are much the same, not absent, not lost, simply waiting for the right moment to become visible. You do not need to search for them tonight. You do not need to make them appear. Like the stars, they know their own time. The child smiles gently, still gazing upwards. There is something about looking into a night sky that softens the edges of hurried thoughts. The world becomes wonderfully spacious. Questions that felt heavy during the day seem lighter beneath the stars. The sea stretches towards the horizon, now reflecting the deepening blue of the sky. Its waves no longer shimmer with gold. Instead, they carry quiet shades of silver and indigo, rising and falling with the same faithful rhythm they have followed for billions of years. You breathe in the cool evening air. The child breathes beside you. The sea breathes with you both. Somewhere beyond the dunes, a tawny owl calls into the gathering dusk. Its gentle voice drifts across the landscape before fading once more into silence. A bat flutters gracefully through the evening sky, weaving invisible paths between the first stars. Far out upon the water, a seal surfaces for only a heartbeat before slipping silently beneath the waves again. The whole world seems to be preparing for night, not with urgency, not with reluctance. Simply by following the rhythm it has always known. The child reaches down and picks up a smooth pebble. Without a word, they turn it slowly in their hand before placing it carefully back upon the shore. You smile. Not everything beautiful needs to be taken with us. Some things become gifts simply because we paused long enough to notice them. You remain standing together for a little while longer, saying nothing. The silence feels gentle, comfortable. The kind of silence that allows the heart to grow quiet without ever asking it to become empty. Above you another star appears, then another. The heavens slowly begin to fill with light, one gentle point of brightness at a time. The child slips their hand into yours once more. Together you watch the night unfold. There is nowhere you need to hurry, nowhere you need to arrive. The stars have waited patiently for countless ages to shine above this quiet shore. Tonight, they are waiting for you too. Little by little, the sky continues to awaken. One star becomes 5, 5 become 20. Soon it is impossible to remember the moment when darkness quietly gave way to 1,000 points of light. The child gazes upwards with quiet wonder. You do the same. The heavens stretch above you in every direction, so wide that they seem almost beyond imagining. The stars are scattered across the sky like tiny lanterns, each shining with its own gentle brilliance. Some glow with cool silver light, others carry the faintest hint of gold. Together they weave silent patterns that people have admired for countless generations. Long before maps were drawn, long before great cities rose from the earth, long before ships crossed the oceans by compass, people stood beneath these same stars. They wondered, they imagined. They found familiar shapes amongst the lights above them. The hunter striding across the winter sky, the great bear turning slowly around the northern heavens, the graceful swan flying along the river of stars. Stories changed from one generation to the next. Names changed, languages changed. Yet the quiet act of looking upwards has always remained. The child traces invisible lines between the brightest stars with a gentle finger, perhaps making a constellation known only to them, perhaps simply enjoying the freedom to imagine. You smile. There is something beautiful about remembering that wonder asks no one to be an expert. It simply invites us to look. The waves continue their slow breathing behind you. Their gentle rhythm seems almost to echo the turning of the heavens above. The moon lifts a little higher. The sea answers with threads of silver that ripple across the water whenever the tide rises to meet the shore. A cool breeze drifts across the beach, carrying the clean scent of salt and the distant sweetness of the dunes. You draw a slow, comfortable breath. The night air feels wonderfully fresh. Above you, the stars continue their patient journey across the sky. They seem still. Yet you know they are always moving. The earth beneath your feet is turning quietly through space, carrying this beach, these dunes, this sea, and both of you beneath the great arch of the heavens. For billions of years it has done the same, turning through darkness, turning into dawn, turning once more towards evening, never hurried, never pausing, only continuing its faithful journey. There is something deeply comforting in belonging to such an ancient rhythm. You need not hold the world together. The tides know when to rise. The moon knows when to appear. The seasons know when to change. The stars keep their silent courses through the heavens. Tonight, your only task is to stand here, to breathe, and to notice. The child bends to pick up a tiny shell, holding it in the palm of their hand. For a moment you find yourself looking from the shell to the sea, to the stars. One so small, it rests upon a single hand. Another stretching beyond the horizon, the last reaching farther than imagination can travel. Yet all belong to the same remarkable universe. The shell has its place, the sea has its place, the stars have theirs. Perhaps every living heart belongs just as naturally, not because it has earned its place, but because it has always been part of this great unfolding story. The child slips the little shell back onto the sand exactly where they found it. The sea will greet it again before morning. A faint ribbon of light appears overhead, not a shooting star, but the pale, misty glow of the Milky Way stretching softly across the night sky like a river of light flowing silently through the darkness. You stand together beneath it for a long while. No words seem necessary. Some moments become more beautiful when they are simply allowed to exist. The sea whispers, The wind sighs through the marram grass. The stars continue shining above. And for a little while, held between the endless ocean and the endless sky, everything feels quietly, beautifully enough. The moon rises quietly above the eastern horizon, slowly, gracefully. Its gentle light spills across the sea until a broad ribbon of silver stretches towards the shore. The child is the first to notice. They stop walking and gaze across the water in quiet wonder. You follow their eyes. Every wave catches the moonlight before passing it gently to the next, until the whole ocean seems woven from moving silver. "It looks like a path," the child whispers. You smile. It does. For everyone who stands upon the shore. Neither of you speaks again. There is nothing to add. The sea says enough. The silver pathway trembles with every passing wave. Never still, never quite the same, yet always beautiful. The child reaches down and lets cool seawater run gently through their fingers. For a moment, moonlight dances around their hand before flowing quietly back into the tide. The sea never tries to keep the light. It simply receives it and lets it continue its journey. Above you, the stars shine a little brighter now. Below them, the moon paints the water with quiet radiance. Between the endless sky and the endless sea, you stand together in peaceful silence. The cool night breeze brushes gently across your face. The waves whisper softly at your feet. There is nowhere you need to hurry, nowhere else you need to be, only here, beside the child, beside the sea, watching the silver path that has appeared upon the water for countless generations, and knowing that tonight, for a little while, it is shining for you too. Night has settled gently upon the beach. The sea has become a ribbon of deep blue and silver beneath the moon, while above you the stars continue to appear, one quiet light at a time. The child walks beside you without speaking. Their footsteps leave soft impressions in the damp sand. Yours fall gently beside them. The waves whisper as they reach the shore, then quietly return again. The breeze carries the scent of salt and the freshness of the night. The marram grass sways softly upon the dunes. Far away a night bird calls once before the silence returns. You pause. There is no need to hurry. The whole shoreline seems content simply to be exactly as it is. The child kneels for a moment, lifting a smooth pebble from the sand. They turn it slowly in their hand, smiling as the moonlight catches its polished surface. Then, just as gently, they place it back where they found it. Not every beautiful thing needs to be carried away. Some gifts are complete simply because we noticed them. You continue walking together beneath the wide night sky. The stars shine above. The sea breathes beside you. The cool sand supports every step. For a little while, you simply become part of this quiet landscape. The waves, the wind, the dunes, the child, and you, nothing separate, everything belonging. You stop once more and look out across the moonlit sea. The silver pathway still stretches towards the horizon, gently trembling with every passing wave. It has been here for countless generations. Tonight, it quietly keeps you company. The child slips their hand into yours. Together, you stand beneath the stars, listening to the faithful rhythm of the tide. There is nothing more you need to do. Only breathe, only listen. Only rest for a little while beside the sea as the night gently unfolds around you. For a little while longer, you remain beside the sea. The child stands quietly beside you, looking out across the moonlit water. Neither of you needs to speak. The waves say enough. They arrive upon the shore with the same gentle rhythm they have followed for billions of years, always returning. Always patient, always at peace with the journey. You look beyond the silver path upon the water, towards the dark horizon where the sea stretches farther than the eye can see. Beneath its surface lies a world of quiet depths. Far below the waves, where sunlight no longer reaches, the ocean remains calm. The surface may rise and fall with the wind. Storms may come and go. Yet deep below, the water moves with a slower, steadier rhythm. There is something comforting in knowing that such stillness exists. The child gently squeezes your hand. You smile. Without thinking, you return the gentle squeeze. Nothing needs to be said. Some moments are complete simply because they are shared. The breeze carries the scent of salt across the beach. The dunes whisper softly behind you. Somewhere in the distance, a wave breaks gently against the rocks before melting once more into the sea. You breathe slowly. The child breathes beside you. The ocean breathes with you both. For a little while, it becomes impossible to notice where one quiet rhythm ends and another begins. The sea, the wind, your breathing, the child beside you, everything resting together beneath the stars. You look once more towards the endless water. Then, without needing to think about it, you continue your gentle walk along the shoreline. The child walks beside you as naturally as your own shadow beneath the moonlight. There is no need to wonder how long this walk will last. Tonight, it is enough simply to keep walking. One peaceful step, one gentle wave, one quiet breath at a time. The night has become wonderfully still. The moon rests high above the sea, and the stars shine quietly across the endless sky. The waves continue their gentle song, rising and falling upon the shore with the same faithful rhythm they have followed for billions of years. You stand for a little while beside the water. The child stands beside you. There is no need to speak. There is nothing more to understand. The sea has asked nothing of either of you. It has simply welcomed you exactly as you arrived. A cool breeze drifts softly across the beach, carrying the scent of salt and the freshness of the night. The marram grass whispers upon the dunes. Far out upon the water, the moonlight shimmers and dances, forever changing, yet forever returning. The child looks towards you with a quiet smile. You smile back. There is no farewell, only the gentle feeling that you have walked this shore together. And somehow, that is enough. You turn once more towards the sea. The horizon stretches beyond sight. The stars keep their silent watch. The tide continues to breathe. You listen. Wave after wave reaches the shore. Wave after wave returns to the open sea. Patient, steady, unhurried, just as it has through countless seasons, just as it will tomorrow, and the day after that. The child gently lets go of your hand, not to leave, but simply to walk beside you with quiet ease, as though there has never been any distance between you at all. Together, you continue for a few more peaceful steps along the moonlit shore. The cool sand beneath your feet, the breeze upon your face, the sound of the waves, the wide, star-filled sky above. Everything belongs to this moment, and for this moment, so do you. As you breathe in the cool night air once more, the sea continues its ancient lullaby. The stars continue to shine, the moon continues to guide the tide, and the shoreline waits with the same gentle welcome it has offered for countless generations. Whenever life feels hurried, whenever your heart longs for quiet, this place will remain here in your imagination. A peaceful shore, a faithful sea, a sky full of patient stars, the tide that never turned away. And now there is nothing more to do, only to rest, only to listen, only to let the quiet rhythm of the waves carry you gently into peaceful sleep.